Here is a 36-inch EnviroFan ceiling fan installed here in the middle of the kitchen dining room. This is just a brief couple-hour test just to see how this looks and performs in here. At some point I do want to put 3 of these in the room here once I get the correct control set installed, which will likely be probably in the February timeline perhaps, unless things calm down from the Christmas decorating very quickly. My initial thoughts is that this is hanging too low. Now it's not hanging any lower than anything else. In fact, it's higher up than everything else. But the problem is it's disproportionate. Yeah, it's still providing more ground clearance than the crests were or still are. But it just doesn't look right. Smaller fans need to be higher up to the ceiling to be proportionately correct. This hangs very high close to the ceiling and it looks proportionally correct. This does not. This needs to be almost all of that down rod needs to be eliminated. I guess the configuration is going to be a matter of how little down rod can be present while it's still physically able to be installed, because you do have to be able to slide the canopy down a little bit to make the connection on the hook. It still looks pretty cool otherwise. I really have a lot of nostalgia to these fans. Not so much these 36-inch ones, but the 56 and 60-inch ones. And these are definitely one of those fans that I think just looks pretty cool no matter where you install it. In terms of the aesthetics in the room, I think a white fan would actually look pretty good in here. I've never used white fans in here before. I've always had either antique brass, polished brass, or the vineyard, which I don't know what finish that is. It's like I think it's like a sandstone finish. It's kind of a very soft, light tan color. And all of those fans looked pretty good because they match different things. The antique brass ones here look really nice up against the brick, and the oak blades look nice up against the cabinets. These rosewood blades look very nice up against the brick. So these all look very nice for different reasons. But of course the white would match all the appliances, and so therefore it would blend in nicely as well. The only problem with the white is that it kind of blends in with the ceiling. Not that this is a problem, but it's not my preference. I prefer the fan to be the focal point of the ceiling, not to blend in. And the white ones definitely blend in. That being said, I think 3 of these in here would look super cool. We definitely just have to address the down rod issue. I'll have to see how much I can physically detach of that rod. Actually, we might as well just try to figure that out now, because then I can make a better judgment call on whether or not this will ever make any sense. Oh no! My chair just broke. Fixed it. So let's see. If the down rod is like that. Oh. Okay, we actually have a lot we can cut out then. Yeah, we can cut out, make sure we're not hitting the wires there. Yeah, we can cut out a fair bit because we only need that much clearance. Okay, so we can eliminate at least 2 inches of this rod. You know, we could take off that much probably. Now put the blades here. That might hinder the performance because of the curvature of these blades, but these don't move all that much air to begin with. These certainly would not be an install built for power or performance. It would be an install built for aesthetics. Okay, so that's cool. So we can shorten the down rod. What I'll probably do, since you can still get these rods in white, I'll probably order like a 18-inch rod and just cut it in 3s and see if that's a good length. I think 6 inches is probably a decent length. All right, so that's good. So we can do this. Let me fix that canopy so it doesn't look so shoddy. We can do this install, and we should be able to adjust it so that it fits a little better. And these are still under production, so it's technically possible we could order 9 of them and put 9 in the living room. That's going to be very expensive and certainly out of budget right now, but not inconceivable that someday we'd be able to do that. So this is actually on a variable speed control, because this is where I connected it to where the light usually goes. Close this, cut down some of the noise here. I'm curious if this is going to be noisy. So this is on the lights variable speed control. I don't know if this has a trim on the bottom of it or not. Oh yeah. Listen to that hum. I don't know how the heck people use these things on regular solid state controls. Just about ready to start. We're already about a third of the way, maybe 40% of the way up the control. Too low. All right, that's about as slow as it'll start. That's about 50% up the control already. And that is way too fast. Yeah, these controls, these solid state controls, do not give you a good low speed range. I honestly think that these solid state controls are useless. Between the horrible sound that they make and the lack of precise control in the low range, I don't know why you would opt for one of these over a 5-speed if you don't care about really dialing in a nice low. You really need the voltage regulating control, the Stacko 171, the Stacko 507, etc., because those give you a good low range control and it's quiet. These variable speed controls, they don't give you a good torque on the low end, and so it stalls out a lot. You can't get it down real slow, and you've got that awful hum, which we can't really hear because the dishwasher's drowning it out, but I just don't know why anybody would opt to run it on a solid state control versus a 5-speed capacitor control. Even if you're trying to go for the nice slow low, you still can't achieve it. Now this actually is not a bad low. This is okay, but I bet if we have any voltage regulation and voltage fluctuation in the house, if I turn on something powerful, it might stall out. And the hum is too annoying. I could never use it like this. I hate when there's like extraneous sounds and things. No, it's got to be quiet. I'm actually surprised I was able to dial in this good of a speed. This is not bad for a low. It's a little bit too fast for my preference, but it's not bad for what we're using. That does look pretty cool in here. It's a completely different aesthetic, but it's pretty cool. That's probably about 40 RPM. I like between 20 to 25 for low speed usually. Let me see if I can, I'm probably pushing my luck here. Let me see if I can dial it down just a touch more. This control is, it's one of those ones with a regular pull switch, and then there's a slider on the side of it. So it's kind of hard to move it in really small increments anyways. All right, it is slowing down a little bit, I think. That's a little bit slower. Okay, I think that's as good as we're gonna get. I think it's going to stall out. Yeah, I got to bump it back up just a touch. It's going to stall. Yeah, this would totally work in here. All three of these. They have pretty cool setup. All right, let's increase the speed a little bit. Go to about a medium speed. I don't know how anybody could tolerate that much noise from the motor. That is a totally unusable configuration to me. It just makes the thing sound like a cheap piece of garbage, and that's not what it is. All right, so now this is where I'm really interested in, is the performance. How does this circulate the air in here? So this is, the control is not linear to the speed of the fan, but this is about 60% up on the control. I think this is probably about a third of the speed it's capable of. So maybe we'll call this like a functional low speed. You can feel a decent breeze coming down, but it's very gentle. Yeah, very gentle breeze. I think the disappointment with these is that when you tell me it's a commercial product, I expect the build quality to be better than average, and I expect high performance. The build quality on this is top notch. I don't think you can buy a better built ceiling fan than this anywhere on the market right now. This is a good old school cast motor. The canopies are made of a thick gauge metal. The blades are all thick gauge metal. This is very, very well built. It runs smooth, it's balanced, the bearings are perfectly quiet. This was made very well, and I expect this will last many, many decades of operation. Where it fails is in the performance department. I don't think that this moves any more air than a basic 36-inch residential fan. I think the Laguna might actually outperform this. That Laguna in the media room I showed earlier in the video, I think it outperforms this. Now, this unit will definitely last longer and hold up in more harsher environments than the Laguna would, because the Laguna has wood blades and kind of cheesy bearings, but this doesn't outperform it, I don't think, at all. And there's nothing wrong with it. The specs on this are not impressive either. I think the manufacturer only rates this at, I think, 3200 CFM, maybe 3600, I don't remember. It's somewhere in the 3000 range. It's not very much. I don't really think it's any more than a basic residential fan would be. So in the corner of the room here, I can feel that there is a little bit of air moving. I can kind of detect it, but it's not like a useful amount of air. It's just not going to provide any cooling. It's hardly there. Let's go up a little bit more. This is very noisy too, and I'm wondering if that's just the turbulence created by the curvature of the blades. I wonder if there's really no advantage to that and the blade should have just been straight. And the Dayton one is pretty noisy too, but it's blasting the air around. This is kind of noisy for nothing. Although in this unit's defense, the Laguna is also very loud. It's just the RPM is too high. Yeah, it's certainly pushing down a reasonable steady breeze, but it's just not anything impressive for a commercial product. So if I stand over here up against the wall, I can feel some air kicking up the wall, but it's not much. It's not much at all. See if it's pushing any air down the hallway. I doubt it, but let's check. Actually, it is. It's not a strong breeze. It's probably not a useful breeze, but it is pushing some air down the hallway. As I wonder, one of the things I was thinking is that putting a fan here might actually serve a practical purpose in the wintertime to help push the heat down the hallway in combination with this, with the piccolos in the hallway. Now let's go to full power. Yeah, we were pretty much already there. It's only going a little bit faster. I can definitely notice air kicking up over here. It's enough to be refreshing in the summertime, but it's not strong. The other side of the room, I've got these village tables here, so it's not getting a good sweep across the floor, but just for the curiosity of it, if I come over here, I don't really feel anything over here. Although I noticed that with the crest too, and I think what's happening is the little channels, the air is like forming a channel in between the countertop and the table here, which is concentrating the airflow's appearance. Because it's got to push the air, through this area only. This is all it has to recirculate, so it's going to be a more concentrated stream versus over there where it's got the whole open space. Now I can definitely feel air moving at the sink, and I can feel air moving around over here at the stove, but it's not much for the amount of noise that's being produced. But it sure does run nice and smooth. Nothing's shaking or vibrating, it just runs perfectly. These definitely, I do think, look better on higher ceilings. Might just be because the installs are a lot more nostalgic that way. That's how these are usually seen when you see them out in the wild. I feel a little bit of air circulating around the hallway here, but not much. Even if I come and sit on the floor here, I still don't feel much. I mean, there is air moving. It's definitely pushing some air into the hallway, but it's not a significant amount. I bet the Dayton would blast some air down here. Actually, for comparison purposes, let's just turn this on and see how it feels. Oh gosh, this blows it out of the water. Huh. I would say this blows 3 times more air. Huh. I forgot how strong that was. Wow. Wow. That puts this thing to shame. This is moving way more air. Huh, okay, well that's disappointing. Disappointing for this, not disappointing for the other unit. I feel like these weren't always like that. I thought the older ones used to be more powerful. They used to have bigger motors too. I think they were a lot thicker. Oh, I guess I got to get my hands on an older one and see how it compares. Oh, my face is warm in the living room now. None of the heat's been pushing it to the rest of the house. Well, one of the other installs I want to do in here, which is a triple, is the Lagunas. Now, I happen to have 3 Lagunas, 2 of which are identical to the one in the media room. I have a pair of those. And then the third one is, I think it's pretty much the same guts, but it doesn't have the polished brass badges on the blades, which look really nice. They add a lot of character to it. I'm not sure the housing might be brown as well, but either way, I think those 3 in here would look pretty good. Quite frankly, I bet one of those would stir up the air in here just fine. Powerful, powerful fans. It's a shame that this doesn't push more air. It's a really nice looking fan, and the build quality is just off the charts. It's just the performance it's not there. And I don't know why. It's, you know, the blades are reasonably wide. They have decent pitch. Certainly runs fast enough, but it just doesn't deliver. And I'm making that comment about it in a, I don't know, what is this, 20 by 10 room with an 8-foot ceiling? I can't imagine what commercial application you would put this in where it would serve any purpose. If you put this on a 15 or 20 foot ceiling, I don't think it'd even push the air to the bottom of the floor. Certainly it's not going to push the air across the floor any decent distance. I don't know. It's a disappointment for sure. It's a cool fan. I like it. Okay. It looks cool. It's very nostalgic. But any install I do with these is really just for aesthetics, not for performance, which is not intuitive for a commercial grade unit. It's funny, these are even labeled, I think, as extra heavy duty industrial. Sure, it can probably run the hours, but it just doesn't move the air. There does seem to be a tight spot in these bearings though. I've noticed that it always stops in the same position. Didn't do it that time. Well, this is still pretty much unused. I mean, this has only had a couple of days of operation. I'm sure once it runs for a longer period of time, the bearings will loosen up. That's normal with ball bearings. All right, so performance is disappointing. Not really a surprise, though. I kind of expected that. Appearance is on point. It just needs a shorter down rod.